Hi everyone and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to cover a really important topic for ball pythons, and that is what to do when your ball python stops eating, and kind of my top, I guess it was 12 tips to help get them back on feed. So today I've got one of my favorite guys from last year, if I can show you his face, my little bongo super pastel spot nose Hetfer clown. He's looking pretty good. But before we dive into it too far, I just wanted to say, if you need to do a health check on your snake, I've linked a video below in the description, and that will show you how to do a quick health check on your snake and just make sure there's nothing really wrong with it. But if you do that health check and you spot anything, I mean, don't keep trying to get the snake to feed if you think it's really sick. Just go straight to a vet, right? But anyway, most of the time when ball pythons stop feeding, it's for, I guess, hormonal reasons, really. It's to do with the corresponding breeding season back where they come from in Africa. And this is kind of a natural thing for them, sort of at least once a year, to fast. At certain times of the year, it corresponds in the wild to varying abundances in rodents and changes in the weather patterns, mainly the minor and the major rainy season that they experience. So basically, what I'm saying is that, just admiring this one because I'm really pleased with him, what I'm saying is that in the wild, they fast, they're used to fasting, their metabolism adapts, and they don't lose a shed load of weight. So the main thing to take on board here, just to start with, is don't panic, right? If your snake doesn't eat for a few weeks, it might be frustrating, or even a few months, it will be frustrating, it might worry you, but 9 times out of 10 there's nothing wrong with the snake. So, now we've got that out of the way, this one's getting more active by the minute, let's get down to the top 12 tips. And then, right at the end for the last tip, I'll tell you when you should just consider consulting a vet. So first of all, my first tip is, if you try either live prey or frozen thawed prey, and you try kind of like moving it around, enticing the snake, and it's just not interested, my first go-to is always to try drop feeding, where you get a thawed out, frozen thawed rat or mouse of appropriate size, and you leave it with the mouse's snout facing right into the entrance to your snake's favorite hideout. So for this guy, this is his warm cave, and if that mouse, thaw it out and keep it warm like you would if you were going to feed it, leave it there overnight. And sometimes what happens is the snake, as they come out during the night, or they try to come out, sorry, my voice is breaking up, they will keep putting their snout to the entrance to their cave, because that's where they go when they're ready to come out and explore or just to look around. And they just keep bumping their snout into that rat, and they keep smelling it. And eventually, if they are really hungry, but they've been stubborn for whatever reason, sometimes this just kind of tips them over the edge. And it doesn't always work, but every so often you do this, and you'll go to your snake's enclosure in the morning, and the rat will be gone. And when it does work, it's like magic. It's really an easy, no fuss kind of way. So that does work sometimes. Tip number 2, I would say, is because of how ball pythons hunt in the wild, because they have these amazing thermoreceptive pits or labial pits that we can see here, they rely a lot on heat and a lot on movement, and light can be kind of a distracting factor for them. So something I do with stubborn ones is I turn off the light in the room. I might go in there and just use the light on my phone, and that is it. And I'll try and feed it like that. Some of them will be distracted by bright light in the room, and it can put them off. And you'd be surprised that for those ones that are like that, how often you can actually get them to feed if you kind of go in with the light off, make sure it's dark in there, only use the light on your phone, and pull out their enclosure just a little bit, just so there's enough for you to get the rat in, and kind of just make the snake feel as if it's alone in the dark doing its hunting. And that can quite often work as well. And after that, another one which works particularly well on some of my males is trying a smaller food item. And now I've noticed this, I'd say, really mainly with males that have been through the breeding season. They've stopped eating, they've fasted for a few months because of the smell of females and everything else, and they're quite stubborn. Often what happens is they're ready to get back on feed, and I don't know this, but they're not ready for a big meal. They want to get back on feed, they're hungry, but they don't feel like having a big meal, because I guess in the wild, a big meal means a lot of blood going to the digestive system and a slow, kind of sluggish state, and it means they're less able to defend themselves. So they're more comfortable often with a smaller meal. So even a snake, not this one size, but a full-grown one, after the breeding season, some of my males, I might try them with a small wiener rat, and that will work sometimes, particularly with Jerry, my acid pastel. That works on him almost every time, and that's quite a good one to try. But again, that is specifically, really works best on the males after the breeding season. It can work on females too, so I mean, by all means try it. Just making sure I'm not throwing this guy around so I talk too much. Number 4 is, before you try anything else, try different colors of prey. Now, honestly, it doesn't work often, but again, this is another one that sometimes it does work, and it's always worth trying. If you've been giving pure white rats, try giving multicolored. And you'd be surprised that sometimes the difference in color of rat, and also try different sex of rat as well. These factors, although they don't really sound that logical, we don't know what's going on in the snake's heads, and sometimes this can work quite well. Again, it's kind of a gamble, but what I would also say at this point is, in between all these steps you're doing, leave a week or so. Don't get to the point where you're bothering the snake every day, and sooner or later one of these things will work. So number 5 is, keep giving the same species of prey that your snake has already eaten, but change supplier. Again, this is one that sounds like you wouldn't believe it when you hear it, but some of these snakes are picky about their rats, and they're picky to the point where if you change supplier, they will either start feeding or stop feeding. If yours aren't feeding for a while, you've got nothing to lose. You may as well change supplier. I know it sounds bad, it sounds like you're not being loyal to your usual supplier, but sometimes it does work, and it's about getting your snakes feeding again, right? So that has worked for me in the past, to be honest. And after that, taking it a step further is changing the prey. So another option for ball pythons that works really well, I'll put up a photo, is using African soft-furred rats, or multi-mammate mice, I think they call them as well. These are kind of like a big fluffy mouse or rat. I don't actually know what they're classified. I think classification wise they are actually a mouse, but they're kind of bigger and fatter than most mice, and they're found in parts of Africa. A lot of people did believe initially that they were a type of prey that ball pythons ate in the wild, and that's why they liked them. Personally, to my knowledge, African soft-furred rats, there's several species, but the one we raise in captivity, I think it was a lab animal. I think it actually came from South Africa or somewhere, so nowhere near where ball pythons are actually from. And in all likelihood, they just like it because they like it. They might be able to tell that it's a different flavor, I don't know, or that it has a nice high fat content. But anyway, a lot of ball pythons like African soft-furred rats, and offering this type of prey can be a really good way. It's worth mentioning that in some areas they are hard to get, or they're more expensive. Other types of prey include chicks. A lot of female ball pythons go crazy for chicks. They absolutely love them. And females, large females in particular, that have been fasting for a long time, I've been able to get them back on food by giving them a chick. Out of my males, I've only got one that takes chicks. That's a really big one. He'll eat anything, so I'm not really sure what that means. But I know this goes contrary to a lot of what we're being told about ball pythons these days. There's a lot of people kind of pushing the idea that they're semi-arboreal, and that the males are semi-arboreal, sorry. Choking again. And that the males eat birds. Now, there's a few things wrong with the study that actually led to this conclusion, and you need to sort of analyse whether that's by choice or by not. When it comes to captive ball pythons, all I can tell you is that the females love chicks. Some of the males like chicks, but not many of them. So if you've got a big fasting female and it's been, 6, 7, 8 months and she hasn't eaten, by all means try her with a chick. Sorry, it's the cold, damp British weather and allergies coupled with our poor nutrition is probably killing me. But so yeah, do try that. Another one you can try is gerbils. Gerbils I don't recommend. They love them. Some ball pythons will go crazy for them, but gerbils are expensive. Not a lot of places breed them, and if your snake only wants gerbils from there on out, it can be a very expensive change to make. But again, at the end of the day, it is all about getting your snakes feeding again. After that, what would number 7 be? I've got to consult my list. That would be increasing hiding places. Now this is a really common one. It's common knowledge by now that they like to hide. They like cluttered areas, and most ball pythons spend 90% of any 24-hour period hiding. They are ambush predators that kind of forage sometimes too when they feel like it. It's down to them. But even if you have one that is quite an active climber and forager, he or she will still need lots of hiding places to feel safe. If they don't have a secure, at least one very snug, secure hiding place that they fit into nicely, they will stop eating. So this is always a thing to consider. If you have your ball python with one hide, put in another hide, put in some fake plants, clutter it up. If you have an enclosure with clear sides, like certain tub enclosures or even glass, not many people use glass now, but some tub enclosures, you can also cover the enclosure with a blanket for a while. And I know that sounds like you're putting the snake in the dark, but it works. It's just that safety feeling, that security thing that they're looking for, that security blanket, I guess. And that can work quite well, actually. Number 8, taking that same kind of thing a step further to make them feel more secure, is moving them to a smaller enclosure. I know a lot of people are getting conned into buying 5-6 foot enclosures for baby ball pythons, much smaller than this one. Inevitably the snake feels lost and it stops eating because it's nervous and it's anxious. And there's nothing wrong, there is nothing wrong with giving your ball python a big enclosure when it's grown up to adult size. Sorry, buddy. And when it's fully confident, it's a full-grown, robust snake. This is what people don't always understand. It's not an argument of whether they should have tiny enclosures or huge enclosures. It's more of an argument of grow the enclosure size with your snake. If you realize that maybe your snake's in a 4-foot enclosure and that is, too big for its age because it's still kind of a baby, like this one's size, just move it down to a smaller enclosure. You can move it to a bigger one later on. Sometimes, often in my experience, moving them to a smaller enclosure can get them feeding. Because again, it's all about that safety thing and they get nervous easy. That one's pretty easy. I mean, you can even do that on a temporary basis for a few months until it puts some weight on. And then on the opposite of the scale is if you realize that you've got your snake in a rack setup, for example, and you've got your babies in a baby rack. Very occasionally the babies will outgrow their tubs very quickly, and when it gets to that week or so, when they are just getting too large to be comfortable in those tubs, some of them will stop feeding. So give them upgrade, and you might see good progress there. So that's another one that's completely opposite. I know it sounds like I'm just contradicting myself, but it's different situations. So just think about enclosure size. Now, what have we got next? Oh yeah. This is like number 10 on the list. So we're getting to the last resorts now. The stuff I don't really like doing. If you are in the US or Canada, I'm not sure about Canada, definitely the US, you can try offering live prey. Here in the UK, I'm not sure whether it's legal to offer live prey or not anymore. I believe it's illegal to starve a snake, but it's illegal to give it live food unless it's starving. It's something weird along those lines. I don't know the full legality or not of that, so don't take my word for it. This isn't advice, this is simply guidance. But if you are in an area where it's legal to give live prey, even if I don't like it as a long-term option, live prey can work really well, especially for hatchlings that don't want to eat, or for snakes that are just really being fussy, or they're just not interested in frozen thawed. At number 11, I've got to tell you, this is one that I haven't personally tried, but I have spoken to people who have done it and they swear that it works. That is putting the snake in a box or a tub and taking it for a drive for 20 minutes or half hour. Some people say put it in a brown paper bag and put it in a bag and take it for a drive. Some people, I've even heard someone say put it in a glove box in something. There's all kinds of variations in this one, but basically take the snake for a drive for half an hour, and some people swear that this gets them feeding again. Honestly, I can't tell you because I haven't done it, but that is, I'm just adding everything that could be useful to you. Now, number 12 is your final step, your final last resort, right? If you have a snake that has lost more than 10% of its body weight, we're going on for 20%, it's been off food for sort of 6 months or longer as an adult, maybe 8 months or longer as an adult, and it is starting to rapidly lose body weight, or if it's this one's size and it hasn't eaten for a few months and it's rapidly, let's say 3 months for one this size, and it's rapidly losing body weight, that is the point where it's not fasting anymore. Fasting is a stable state where a snake I won't say this size, let's say a snake twice this size, one that's sexually mature, could be losing, say, 20 grams in a month. Right, not 50 or 70 grams. So you need to be weighing the snakes monthly. And if you realize that one of your snakes is not eating and it's losing weight at quite a rapid pace, then you need to sorry, I'm suffocating again. Then you need to consult a specialist reptile vet. You've reached the end of the road there, you're getting concerned for the animal's health, and you need to consult a vet who has experience dealing with reptiles. Even if you did the health check like I showed you in the video, there could be something else going on, there could be parasites that need checking for, and it is time to consult a vet. So that is what you do as your last try, your last tip if you're really out of options. So I hope these tips have been useful for you. I know it's kind of a long video, but please don't hesitate to sort of save this video to your watch later list or something and go back to the different steps at different times. I know it is a long video, but it is important. It's an important topic. If you keep ball pythons, if you keep ball pythons, you will have at least one that stops feeding for a long time. And most of the time, honestly, it's nothing to worry about. But it still doesn't hurt to try and get them back on food as quickly as possible, especially if you intend breeding. Because to breed them, they need to be a decent weight. They need to have a little bit of chub on them a little bit of fat on the flanks before they breed, really. So anyway, I hope this has been a helpful video for you. If you've got any other ideas that you think could help other owners, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments. I'd love to hear other ideas as well. But until then, please do like and subscribe, and please do come back in a week or so for another video. Thank you very much.